Annie McMahon,
Here.
Rael Zubel,
Here.
Burgess of it,
Present.
Mike Bordeaux.
Present.
You know,
Okay.
Mike doesn't have to be a member tonight because we have a full board.
Correct. We only have one item on the official item on the agenda this evening, and that is review of 2022 AV-6 variance application, Adam Smile and Megan Stevenson, parcel 274.1-69.6, 76 Gailey Hill Road, front yard setback variance. Mr. Smile, welcome.
And
Would you please take a seat? And speak into the microphone if you could, otherwise it doesn't get out to our people who are watching via Zoom, because I'm sure there are thousands of them out there. So tell us about the new application.
Okay, so since we had spoken last, I guess some of your influence or what the decision was based on was the opinion of Ron, our road supervisor, lives right down the street from me. So I had asked him to come over to see what, his opinion was as far as what had to be changed in order for him to be happy with it. So he remeasured the area. And basically his only two requests were that we move it an additional 5 feet back, so 35 instead of 30 from the center. And he had, not that this has really anything to do with the variance, but he had requested that we put an additional 20 feet of culvert pipe just to continue the drainage under the driveway. So he signed a letter in writing, which I believe everybody should have, stating that that is his opinion. He said it will have no impact on snow plowing operations or anything really that would impact the neighborhood or the street in general. So being that it was such a minor change on the application, I had recently yesterday spoken to my friend and lawyer Mark Shackner. He's very well versed in the zoning rules, and he had suggested, since it's such a minor change from the original application, that you would consider basically making this a modification of the original application and not having to go through this whole process again, which would take another month for approval, and see if the board would consider approving it this evening. He said legally that's perfectly okay.
It is not something I'm willing to take under consideration. Counsel?
I guess a couple of things. One is based on the fact that the last application ended with a motion to approve that motion to, I guess, grant the variance that wasn't adopted, and not a motion to deny the variance, which was adopted. And based on that, if everything is the same except for a 5-foot modification, I guess I would not see an objection to moving forward with it based on the previous public hearing that was had and the additional input from Ron. But that'll be a determination that the board would make. I don't see a problem with it though.
Since this is officially a new variance application, do we not have to hold another public hearing? Since it is, even though it is a minor change, it is not the same application?
No, I don't think that would hold you up.
So we don't need another public hearing?
You can, it's not a, I guess, a must do or a can't do. I'd say you have the discretion to be able to say that the change from application 1 to application 2 was more or less minor in terms of the substance, that you could say this is more or less a modification of that original application, which was never again, I would say formally closed out.
I thought it was formally closed out by virtue of the fact that it did not pass.
No, that just means that motion to adopt it as submitted is not approved. You didn't pass a resolution,
Correct.
so not passing an approval is not the same thing as denying.
Okay,
The motion should have been to deny it if you guys wanted to then.
Yes, I'm confused
Right.
because we were told recently that, that was set upon, just hypothetically, someone say, I'll make a motion to approve that, even if you don't, and then.
Oh,
So now you're saying that we should say, someone has to make a motion if we don't want to have to make a motion not to approve it, and then have to vote on it.
right. My understanding is
That's
that,
contrary to what we've learned before in the past.
right. My understanding, what you learned before in the past was always presented as an approval.
Correct.
And that's fine. You can present it as an approval. But a motion that doesn't get adopted. A motion for approval that doesn't get adopted is not the same thing as a denial. That does get adopted. That's what I'm saying. And that's something that I brought up in the past. That if a motion to approve doesn't get adopted. I believe there needs to be an affirmative step from the board. To actually then close out that application.
So then you're saying hypothetically, if something this came to pass, someone is I'd say, I make a motion to deny it, and someone seconds it, and then everyone disagrees with it, and then someone has to make a motion to accept it, and then do a vote again?
Absolutely.
Well, it's a new learning curve on me. But we've done it in the past, and it gets denied in the vote.
And like I said, that's fine. From my perspective, you can take my advice or leave it. My perspective is a motion to approve that doesn't get adopted is not the same from a legal setting as a motion to deny the variance that does get adopted. They're two different animals. And so, again, not getting too far afield, I think that with everything taken into consideration, if the board were to consider that this application is, more or less on all fours, the same as the previous one with potentially some additional setback, that's something that could be considered on the merits tonight. Now, you might find that there's more that has changed or more questions have been, more questions come up because of the 5-foot change. That's your purview and your discretion to be able to say, no, there's even with just a minor additional 5 feet. There's many more questions that come up potentially for more public input. We want some more information from the applicant. We want to, get more public input on it. That's all something that I'd say is within your purview and discretion to be able to determine based on what you glean from the application, as it's presented now.
So we gotta almost give him this application back with $100 and work off the previous application is what you're telling us.
No, I guess I'm telling you that you can move forward on this application. More or less from the previous application with this one combined to move it forward. I guess I'm not saying to strike one out or to cancel the first one or cancel the second one. I'm just saying that you can take the information that you have already learned about this project and, apply it to the application that's in front of you.
There was two variances on the first application. I believe you approved one of them, height variance.
Correct.
Correct. So this is just the setback variance. Does council have an issue that Michael filled in for me last time? This is okay. So I'll excuse myself and let him finish it. No?
No.
Okay.
I assume by the same token, there's no issue with Jamie participating since he was not on the previous board.
No, not an issue.
So one of the questions in front of us right now is, so are we re-reviewing this application? And then we're gonna decide if we're gonna do a public hearing or not.
That's right. That's what I'd recommend. I still think that the application that was submitted for review tonight should be reviewed. And I think through that process, if you determine that everything is, on all fours, essentially the same as the last one with a change that has, satisfied Ron, it's something that you could move forward, have a discussion, propose a motion. Or conversely, you could say we still have some unanswered questions that we'd like the applicant to provide some additional information on. Or we feel like this changes something, that maybe this is going to change views from the road or views from other properties, or something that we think that because of the modification, the public should be aware of and have a chance to comment on.
But we can forego the public hearing. What more is going to come out of a public hearing? Except another month for this gentleman's time.
Plus, the modification, I would understand if we had to, have a public hearing and, consult with the neighbors and everything, but, if I were moving it 5 foot closer to the road, because that might disturb somebody more, but the fact that we're moving it even further back, I can't imagine anybody would raise their hand over that.
Right, and I guess to that, I would just say that's something that is going to come out of the review of the project with the 5 feet. So I wouldn't say right now you make a decision that you're just going to plow through and not have the public hearing, or that you're necessarily going to, as a matter of fact, have it. I think that through the process of reviewing the application that's before you, you'd have the option to say, we can move forward on this tonight, or no, we don't have enough information right now. We need more information, and that might come, in the form of public hearing.
How often do you see town officials like highway supervisors, elected officials giving input on variances? Like, you see that in other towns?
Yeah, I think it's fairly common.
Is it?
Okay.
And that was my question to Matt. I've only been around 2 years. How often has Ron, an elected official, put his input on the zoning board?
I've been on the board for 4 years, and I can say that during my tenure, I have never had Ron provide input. However, also during that 4 years, there's never been occasion for Ron to provide input. So
Fair enough.
when the question of whether the setback from the road is satisfactory, I relied on 2 things. Okay, my previous experience in the town of Clifton Park, where it is the highway superintendent who decides where driveway cuts can go and how far back they can be. And I believe Karen's statement that it would be in Lake Luzerne, that was also true. It would be the highway superintendent. So that is my basis. But no, I've never involved him before, but I never had occasion to question a setback from the center line of road from a safety or a snow removal perspective.
Fair enough. And somebody on this board initiated that conversation, or did Mr. Smalls?
At the previous meeting, Ron had provided input, but his input was verbal to myself and to Karen. I believe it was suggested to Mr. Smile that he
I'm sorry.
contact.
I pronounced your name wrong. I'm sorry.
Oh, no problem.
that he contact Ron
Okay.
Dool and find out what would be acceptable to him from the highway superintendent perspective.
All
Can
right,
I
thank you. It sounds a
add
little
something?
bold for an elected official to give his
In
input.
in the ordinance, it allows for us, me, whomever, to ask for assistance or opinions from other people. And whether that be an engineering firm or highway superintendent or whomever it is, fire chief, whatever. When we, on the planning board, when we do subdivisions and things like that, we are often asking the highway superintendent about roads, the fire department about access, the EMS, the same type of thing. So the ordinance allows for us to ask for guidance from the people that have more knowledge.
Fair enough. Thank you.
On that basis, I guess we proceed forward by reviewing the application for completeness, and after that is done, we make a decision as to how to proceed. And I do have both applications. Seeker was not required, reference to county planning was not required, and there's a letter in the file referring to APA as being non-jurisdictional. The information on the first page is identical to the original application with the exception of the receipt for the check. And the fact that Karen has written in on this, that the zoning is RU, which was not on the previous application. History of the property, residential property purchased in 2017 by Adam Smile and Megan Stevenson from Tom Teft is the same. Description of proposed action, we'd like to build a garage on our property. Our property has a very steep grade, making it impossible to build if we have to comply with the 75-foot setback rule. We would like to request permission to build with a 35-foot setback after consulting with the town road supervisor, Ron Dool. He agrees that that will be a sufficient setback from the highway supervisor's perspective. His only other request is that we extend this culvert that runs under our driveway by 20 feet. Mike, I have a question for you. I've seen the letter, and Ron has requested that the culvert be extended 20 feet to support locating this garage in the proposed location. The fact that Mr. Smile has stated in the proposed action that he intends to do that, is that legally binding?
But if you approve, if it's in the application that that's what he's proposing to do, and you approve, hypothetically, you approve the application with that in it, I would then argue that that is binding. And so then if the culvert was not installed as it was approved, that would become an enforcement issue.
Doesn't the town do the culverts on the side of the road? Because then if he puts a culvert in and sells the house and it gets flooded up and the.
You got, if you're cutting the driveway and you're responsible for your own.
Yeah,
culvert.
he said we're responsible for it.
I mean, it's a question, well, the town, does it, the question, well, if you're doing it for your driveway, you're responsible for your culvert.
It is, if Mr. Smile installs a culvert, does Ron have to inspect it and approve it?
Ron would have to give him specification to what size culvert he's gonna want and any kind of fill around it. But that's gonna be up to Ron Dool.
Any questions on the history of the proposed action?
All good.
Describe how the requested variance will not alter the character of the larger neighborhood or impact adjacent properties. Multiple houses on our street do not comply with the 75-foot setback rule. I have no neighbors within 500 feet of my house. The garage will be built to match our home in a tasteful way. Which is the same as the response to question 1 of the previous application. Describe what alternatives have been explored to achieve a solution other than the variance. I've had a well-known local excavator assess our property and agrees that there are no other locations that the garage can safely be built due to the steep grade. Reuben Ellsworth of Ellsworth Excavation. A question?
No,
Happy.
Answered.
Answer.
Explain whether this question's variance is substantial but necessary. I measured 35 feet from the center of the road with Ron Dool present. And he agreed that 35 feet was an adequate distance and will not interfere with snowplow operations.
answer,
Answer.
Answered.
Describe how the requested variance will not have an adverse impact on physical and environmental conditions in the neighborhood. There will be no water or sewer in the structure. There will also be no floor drains in the concrete. Very few trees will have to be removed to clear the space.
answer,
Answer.
Answered.
Describe how the requested variance is not a self-created difficulty. The need for variance is not self-created, but is a result of the steep topography of the lot and the surrounding area.
question,
Answer.
answer,
Question is answered. In the packet, there is a statement that there are multiple houses on Gailey Hill Road that have freestanding garages that do not comply with the 75-foot setback rule. A survey of the property showing location of the proposed garage with the 35-foot setback. I'm pretty sure we're all familiar with that. Anyone have any questions on that?
no,
A drawing of the structure. Any
Yeah,
questions on a
no,
proposed structure?
all good, thank you.
The jurisdictional determination from the APA. Thing is non-jurisdictional. Copy of the deed for the property. And a copy of Ron's letter, which I will read for the record. To Lake Luzerne Zoning Board from Ron Dool, Highway and Water Superintendent, Lake Luzerne, New York, September 15, 2022. Variance application from Adam Smile, 76 Gailey Hill Road, Lake Luzerne, New York, 12846. Dear Zoning Board, I reviewed the variance request that Adam Smile has submitted, and I agreed that a 35-foot setback instead of the initially requested 30-foot setback would be sufficient. The garage built 35 feet from the center of the road to the front of the garage will not interfere with traffic on the road or snow plowing. But you've also agreed that Adam Smile will have a 20-foot culvert pipe extension installed to the right of his current driveway to allow for proper drainage. Sincerely, Ron Dool, Highway and Water Superintendent, Lake Luzerne, New York. Any questions?
No, I'm all good, thank you. On the application.
So normally at this point in time, someone will make a motion to accept the application. I assume we still need to do that.
Yeah, I would recommend that.
I make a motion to accept the revised application.
Second.
Karen,
Okay, one moment. Now we do roll call.
please.
Burgess,
Yes.
Rail,
Yes.
Annie,
Yes.
Jamie,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
pass.
Now, it's a new frontiers.
Hmm.
Do you want to act on it or do you want a public hearing? That's the next motion.
Okay, do I have a motion? Do I have a motion?
I have a motion that we should have a public hearing.
I'll second that.
So you can either have discussion on it, or you can go through a, go straight to a vote.
Any discussion?
Any discussion?
Well, I don't know what we can really get out of a public hearing. though.
Just letting the public know that what's going on, so there's no
Okay.
disclosure and anything. And then, and plus, I would personally, looking at this, I would really like to do another site visit and take a second look or even get a different grade on to determine how steep this is, because someone managed to build a house up on top of that hill without a problem. So why is the town responsible for giving a setback just to save money for garage to be built? It's not like there's a restriction back there or something, so I just like to take a close look to see how impossible it is to comply with the setback. That's just my opinion.
I am uncomfortable proceeding forward without having a second public hearing.
I think skipping the public hearing is a little bit in the gray area. That's why I was saying if we could circle back and just modify the other one where there already was a public hearing. But, you know, it is a new application. If anyone wants to go there and look at it, it's acceptable.
Any further discussion?
Burgess,
What's the motion? Read that one more time.
motion to have, Jamie Mueller made a motion to have a public hearing. And it was seconded by Matt Powell.
Okay, no,
No,
I do not want a public hearing. I want to move forward.
Rail,
No,
no public hearing.
no public hearing.
Annie,
No public hearing.
Jamie,
Yes. Public hearing.
Matt,
Yes.
so the no's got the vote. got
So, but that saying
pass.
with our attorney, that doesn't mean anything, so now someone has to make a motion not to have a public hearing? Is that what you're saying like before? That we-
No,
we
now it would be a motion, to,
Move forward?
yeah, a motion. Either you're gonna have a discussion about the application, if there's additional information that you would need, but in terms of a motion moving forward now, it would essentially just be a motion to approve or a motion to deny the variance.
Okay.
I make the motion to approve the variance with the stipulation of the 20-foot culvert pipe that was suggested from the highway superintendent
Is that submitted?
as submitted. Thank you.
I'm gonna second.
I'll second that.
We do a roll call again.
Can we have discussion before that?
Yeah.
Okay,
I am in agreement with Jamie regarding the location of this garage on that property. There is, Mr. Smile has a house on that property.
It's also a safety issue when you're going down the driveway. You can put a house.
With
on
the
top
safety
of-
issue with the garage there too.
It's a safety
mean, you
issue
can't
when
park
you're
a-
sliding down a mountain on your paved driveway when it's icy, which is impossible to keep clear. And then there's a ditch that goes down 10 feet across the street.
So
That's
you,
a bigger safety
and
issue.
you were aware that you will not be able to park in front of that garage because your car will be protruding to the street.
It won't be, but
Well, it
I'm
won't
not
be
planning
because
on parking there.
Center of the road, the edge of the pavement is 14 feet. So that's giving you 20 feet if your bumper is touching that garage door and your bumper, your car, which your truck is probably 20 feet long.
Yeah, I'm
So your
not
truck is
parking
gonna
there
be
anyway. That's not the idea of me paving right in front of it. I'm parking up on my house regardless. I'm too lazy to walk all the way up that driveway every day.
The other thing is that I have. In the previous application, and this application, there's a statement that Robert Ellsworth of Ellsworth Excavation has stated that he agrees that there are no other locations that the garage can safely be built due to the steep grade. Yet in neither application have I seen any documentation from Mr. Ellsworth to that effect.
He's not like Ron's, official of the town. He's just a businessman. I didn't think that would, I was just stating that because he's a well-known excavator, and we had that conversation, but I wasn't looking for him. He's a businessman. I'm not asking for.
Well,
something in writing.
you have called his name out as being basically an expert in this area and provided no documentation that he's even present at this site.
I know, but that's not his business of providing documentation for zoning meetings. quite
Did
honestly.
you hire him to look at the site?
I have hired him for other projects at my house, but not for that particular. I will be.
Did
will
he
be
look at
doing-
this, did he look at the site to provide this information?
He did, and I will be hiring to do him to do the excavation if and when approved. Yes.
Question 5. The need is not self-created. Need is absolutely
Very
self-created.
self-created. That's over 50% request from the original setback.
Right. It is substantial and it is self-created. Is there need for any more discussion? Burgess?
No.
Rail?
The biggest concern is safety. And if the highway supervisor says it's not a safety problem, he is the expert in the whole situation, so we have to rely on the expert. And the expert said it's not a safety concern in writing. That's my phone, not Andy.
Thank you.
Nevertheless, the motion is to approve it. So if it does not get approved, then somebody has to make a motion to deny it. So to close this case.
Or you could table it if you feel that more information is needed, or you can even circle back around to a motion for a public hearing or anything
Okay.
else. But
Thank you.
yeah, if the motion doesn't pass, then it would still need some further action.
Yeah, I'm just, we have our expert from Mr. Dool saying that, and or Mr. Smiley said he wants to be able to back his trailer into his garage.
Oh, that's not on the new
That was
application.
that was taken off, okay.
That was taken off because it's actually, I'm selling it. I'm getting rid of the trailer, so that's not even in
Okay,
the new application.
but I'm just having a tough time that there's, it just comes down to a restriction that, the town is, because it's gonna cost you more money to get closer to comply with that is,
It's not a money issue. It's.
well, you said, not the last meeting, the meeting before that was gonna be like a $50,000 excavation, you said to us.
But
for him to do that.
It's not the money issue. It's the fact that if I go back further and they have to dig them out and to accommodate it, it's gonna be a water issue too.
Well,
Plus,
there's lots
it's also gonna be, it's a safe, it's, the higher I go, the more unsafe it is in the winter. It's a fact. I slide down my driveway every single winter.
But you can still push it back and have your poured walls. You have a pretty high thing. You could have poured walls 10 to 12 foot high with that 12-foot door you have there. So that could shoot that thing right into that hill very easily because people do it all the time with structures into hillsides.
But you know,
And you
if,
can push it
if
back.
we were in Queensbury and we were in a new development where everybody's house was exactly the same and cookie cutter and everybody's exact setback, I fully understand what you're saying. But if you drive down my road, which you guys have, there's plenty of houses and I have the numbers I can provide. I don't want to get into that because
No, I
I'm
know.
not trying to piss off my neighbors, but the fact is there's plenty of houses with garages or houses themselves. Some are old and I get some are grandfathered, some are not old. They're way less than 75 feet from the road. So there's no consistency on that road. So I don't understand.
And
why
what's our rules and regs we're trying to establish a consistency. So it isn't just so, back and forth prior to what, 1972, Karen? Was when we started our zoning?
I believe that's what it was. I don't have that in front of me. Was it in sixties maybe?
It was
Seven?
72.
Quite honestly, if I had a
Okay.
nice flat yard, I wouldn't be here right now. This is not something that I'm trying to be a pain about. I have one of the more difficult properties on the road. It's not only a money thing, it's a safety thing, and I also don't want to switch back driveway heading up to, the location.
Any further discussion?
No, I'm all set.
Okay, so the motion is to approve the variance with the stipulation of the 20-foot culvert pipe as submitted. Gonna do a roll call.
Yes.
Let me just,
So you need someone to second that though?
It was.
it was seconded by Rail.
I'm sorry.
Burgess,
No,
Rail,
Yes.
Annie,
Yes,
Jamie,
No,
Matt,
No.
so the motion was not passed.
So, Mr. Crowe, do we now need a motion to deny?
Yeah, I would recommend a motion to deny the application. Or if you feel like more information is needed. To table it. And request information or to make additional site visits or whatever you feel is necessary. I think. One of those two is necessary in order to either close out the application or get the information that you need that you don't have.
Do any of the other board members feel the need to get more information? I will. For those of you who were not here previously, at the last meeting, Mr. Smile was presented with options. One was moving it back. Okay, one was rotating it moving it back and rotating it 90 degrees. Rotating it 90 degrees so that the entrance was not off the road. Mr. Smile stated was not aesthetically acceptable to him. He has
Well, it wasn't.
moved
only
it,
aesthetic,
excuse
was
me,
the
sir,
fact that-
I'm speaking. He has moved it back 5 feet, which I consider to be insignificant. We've all visited the site. We've all seen the slope. We've all seen the house. We've seen the location. Now, I'm not trying to bully anyone, so if anyone feels we need to table this, then please feel free to say so.
that's only if somebody needs more information. I mean, no disrespect to this gentleman, but in my opinion, 35 out of 75 is egregious. And I understand his topographic. I apologize for that, but in 2017, these rules were still there when he bought that place.
Correct. Rail, do you need more information?
I I'm trying to think of what we can do to work with him. I mean, what do we want to see as a board? If 35 foot doesn't meet, what do we want to see, 50 feet, 60 feet?
We are not allowed to advise.
But can we?
Or rewrite it.
Can we help or maybe like blindly guide?
My predecessor's response to that would be no.
Because it's so depressing for community members who try and do things right to get shot down. And then when people get no permit, no variance, nothing, they go about it dumb. They get passed through. It's only, in the town of Lake Luzerne, you're better off building something and asking for forgiveness after than you are trying to go about it the right way. And can we guide him? I mean, somehow help him so he can get a garage in his property? He's gonna pay more taxes. He's gonna give the town money. He's gonna have a more usable lot. How can we work with him?
Council, please correct me if I am wrong, but I have been told previously that we are not allowed to advise an applicant.
Right, I wouldn't disagree with that. I think, again, kind of from a hypothetical standpoint, the applicant has heard the discussion that's taking place, has heard the votes that have been cast. Based on that, he may request that the board table it while he takes another look at the plans that were submitted or the variance request that was submitted. And may want to amend the application based on the conversation and the votes. So I don't think that the board is in a position to make suggestions as to what application would be approved. But again, I guess I would say if that was a request from the applicant that you table it, I guess I'd say that's something that I think should be considered.
Okay, so this is all new territory for me, I'm sure. And I believe the rest of the board.
I think that was free legal advice.
Mr. Smile, based on council statement, do you have a desire for us to table any further action on your application?
Yes.
Anyone opposed?
Can I say one thing or is it too late? Too late?
Not as far as I'm concerned.
Can we make a slight modification of this and say a 40-foot setback and set it for a public hearing?
I guess I would say the board shouldn't change it to 40, but if that was an amendment that the applicant asked you to make, you could certainly do that. You could certainly amend it, as we said.
If I made it 40 feet, would that change it for everybody? Are we gonna do this every single month, 5 feet at a time?
We're trying to prevent.
I mean, I get everybody's perspective, you're not allowed to give me the answer, but do we want to waste everybody's time 5 feet at a time? If you just tell me it's 40 feet and that's your comfortable number.
That was just an example. I was throwing out.
Me too. It's, last time you said it was a safety concern, speak with the highway supervisor. I did that. He gave his qualified opinion. Obviously, that doesn't mean anything right now.
No, it's not that it doesn't mean anything, but it was not the ultimate deciding factor. His input was provided. Look at his input. It's been taken into consideration.
I would have had more concern about that line turn and having no driveway there. But I didn't even bring that up tonight because of Mr. Gould saying it was not an issue. I thought when I was on site a couple of times that, I know you got rid of the trailer now, but pulling out of that driveway, backing out of the driveway with that sweeping right-hand turn past you, I, not being a supervisor of the town, thought that was a safety issue. He did not, so I didn't bring it up. So yes, what he said did have a lot of weight on this topic.
And I still have my driveway there, so
Mhm.
that will, whether I'm still.
I know, but
coming
you
out
have,
of
you have
that
your
area.
you have a driveway there, granted, but you're not gonna be backing out of that part of the driveway. You'll be backing out of the garage, very hypothetically. If you have a vehicle in the garage, which you probably should, or want to, that's why the garage.
I won't be, but it's purely storage. I mean, and it's not a blind turn by any. It's questionable if somebody's driving 75.
Well,
miles
the
an
thing,
hour.
that's why I didn't even bring it up. So right
Yeah,
now,
Okay,
I'm going with Mr. Dool and saying it's a non-issue, so that's, I don't think we need to rehash that anymore, so it's a muted point in my eyes. But then if you're saying you're just gonna use it for storage and back out, I mean, I wasn't here last month. It was brought up about rotating it and having the driveway off to your existing driveway, so why wouldn't that be
well,
a
because
possibility to you now then?
and it has, it's less to do with aesthetics. It's the driveway is 40, or the garage is supposed to be 40 wide by 30. So if I have to turn it, now we're deeper into the woods, which that's the whole point, is to not go deeper. So if it were a square garage, valid point, then I could turn it and no problems, but it's not a square garage. It's wider than it is deep.
If they even rotate on a 45.
I mean, there's always lots of options out there, so, but like we said, we can't say, dictate to you what to do.
So you could, somebody could propose a motion to table. And alternatively, you can have a motion to deny the application. It sounds like the applicant would prefer the motion to table to allow them some time to either make an adjustment to the application, or potentially, address some of the other issues that you brought up. I don't know if that means additional input from the contractor that you mentioned or whatnot, but, again, right now, your options would be either to table it or a motion to deny.
And I have the option to table it.
You can request that it be tabled.
I would like to request it so I don't have to pay another application fee then, yes.
Then I would make that motion on behalf of him.
I'll second.
Okay, let me write this down. And do a roll call, Burgess.
Why am I always first?
Right,
Yes.
The other way.
Yes.
Nat,
Yes.
Jamie,
Yes.
Annie,
Yes,
Rail?
Yes,
Burgess.
Yes.
Pass.
Karen, when would, if the applicant has additional or new information to provide, when would they need to get that to you so that you can?
I need it a week before the next meeting. That's when I distribute it. So the next meeting, let's just be clear. It's gonna be. Hold on, my phone is-
The 10th.
Right. So I would need it on the 3rd, by the 3rd, any new. When is Veterans Day?
11,
That's
11.
what, the 11th, okay. Okay.
Thank you. So now I have a question. Since this is the first time we've done anything this way. So all the previous applications where the motion was made to approve, and it did not pass, but there was no motion to deny.
Mhm.
Can those applicants then come back to us and say that we didn't deny the application, so request us to take further action, a different action on it?
You're talking like historically?
Correct.
No. After, I want to say 60 days after the public hearing is closed and there's no affirmative vote, it's going to be deemed denied. As kind of a way to keep applications without getting kind of caught up in a never-ending adjournment process.
So if nothing happens within the 60-day period following the public hearing, it is de facto denied,
Yeah, I believe that 60 days. I don't know for certain.
or 60, 62, whatever the time,
Something
whatever
like
that time period is.
Mhm.
If no action occurs in that time period,
Right,
then it is, it is considered denied.
right. There's a presumptive denial. If you're just dragging your feet on something, an applicant can take that as a constructive denial. So, no, I don't see any issues with old applications being resurrected to say there wasn't an affirmative step being taken. Because after that time runs, you then have to challenge it through an Article 78. And if you don't do that, the passage of time cures it.
Okay, thank you.
Should they be making, if they make a motion to approve and the vote is a majority no, should they be making a second motion to deny so that it is completed at that point, or do you leave it open-ended?
Or do we make an app, or do we, contrary to previous advice, do we just, if a board member feels strongly that the application should be denied, should the motion be to deny?
Yeah, I think you can certainly jump straight to, you need to end an application on an affirmative vote. So a motion that passes.
Right.
Or fails. Fails, but again, then you're kind of allowing the time to be the curing mechanism. So if they don't initiate in Article 78 to challenge the action or inaction after 30 days, it's 30 days. Then the time to challenge is gone. And so,
You mean an appeal 30 days? Is that what you're
Yeah.
saying? I think it says, I'll look.
I think in Article 78 is 30 days.
Oh, I don't know
after.
about Article
Yeah, yeah.
78, so.
Um, So, there's no problem with starting right off with the motion to approve. And more or less, all that's doing is kind of polling the board. You're getting an idea of how people feel about it based on that motion. You could also, without making a motion, just poll the board and have, each member give their position on it. And if you get to the point where 3 people are in favor, you know the direction that the motion is going to take. If you get to the point where 3 people are not in favor, you know the likely direction that a motion is going to take. But as a general rule of thumb, the application would need to end on an affirmative action taken by the board. Now, if you make a motion to approve and it's not adopted, it can then lead to a motion to table to get more information. There could be, it doesn't necessarily mean that has to be the end of the application. It simply means that either as submitted or the motion in the way that the motion was made, wasn't adopted, a revised motion or a new motion to adopt with some other contingencies could be approved. So, my recommendation would be that, the application ends with an approved motion of some sort. Either approved with some contingencies, approved, as amended or denied.
So you want a positive declaration as stated previously, but that positive declaration can be of a denial.
Correct.
All right. Well, we learn something new every day.
And again, that's my recommendation. It's the board doesn't have to do that. You can make a motion to approve, and then no further action beyond that is going to be a constructive denial through the passage of time. It just leaves open the possibility of either litigation or kind of the non-finality of that particular application.
Okay. Thank you.
I was trying to understand something at a previous meeting. Are local ordinances binding laws, or do they have to go to the legislator to be official laws?
As in like the zoning ordinance?
Yes.
It's a binding law. It's a local law. So it's got a different impact than the next level up, which would be a statute from the state. But the zoning ordinance, anything I guess that's a local law, that is 100% binding. And it's binding either until it's amended or revoked. But that's different than, for example, a resolution or a motion. Say, for example, a town board resolution is a different mechanism than a local law. The zoning ordinance is a local law. And so the only way to change the zoning ordinance is through adopting a new local law that either amends the ordinance, revokes part of it, edits it in some way.
I thought something had to go to the legislator to be an official law.
No, after the local law is adopted, it gets filed with the Secretary of State, but it doesn't have to go through any sort of New York State legislature approval.
I was just basing off I was trying to piece together stuff I heard from the last attorney.
Yeah, and there are things, there are random things that like creation of some special districts and certain, very specific kind of idiosyncratic issues that require adoption by the state legislature and not the local. So like creating a special district, or if you're going to change the budget dates. For example, the town budget dates are set in place by statute, but some municipalities have changed when those dates occur. And that has to happen through a approval through the legislature. So there are some things here or there that do require state legislature approval. But that's not, I guess, a sweeping kind of one size fits all scenario. What the town has adopted as a local law is enforceable and applicable the moment that it's adopted by the town.
Enforceable by the town only.
Yes.
New and old business. Old business, I've been up Potash Road. I see the house is moving along. Hopefully it will be completed before next April. Under the category of both old and new business, I did take, and I have a copy of it. I apologize for not getting it to you. I will email this out to everyone. Of our discussion on short-term rentals that we had at our last board meeting. I provided it to Karen provided it to the town board. Jim Niles read portions of the planning board's recommendation and the zoning boards. I can't say recommendation because I provided them information on everything we discussed. HR districts, locations of housing densities in HR districts, whether an STR should be allowed at HR districts, rezoning based on housing density, impact on STRs, need to hire an STR coordinator to enforce STR regulation, zoning districts in general in the town of Lake Luzerne, restricting locations of short-term rentals to specific locations, and rezoning as a method of regulating short-term rentals. And the bottom line is, no general consensus was reached on the use of zoning regulations to regulate STRs, because that's where we were at the last meeting. So that is what I provided to the town board. So under the category of no good deed goes unpunished, the town board is holding a workshop on Monday to discuss STRs, where they are with their regulations, taking our input and the planning board's input into consideration. And the presence of the planning board chairman and myself have been requested at that meeting, but it is a workshop. It is not a public meeting, but it is, well, you can attend, but they're not taking input from the public because it is a workshop. But there will be a Monday, 6:30, right, Karen?
6:30.
6:30 Monday evening.
I think in the future, before you send something out on behalf of the zoning board, you should send it to us and have us look it over first. I know it's stuff that we discussed, but if it's going out on behalf of the zoning board of appeals, we should all be able to look at it before it goes out on our behalf.
I will.
So I think that should be void. Because it is, I did not get to look that over, and nothing on there is my behalf. Before,
This letter is not from the zoning board, it's from the chairman of the zoning board. That is me.
the chairman represents the rest.
The chairman of the zoning board wrote this
I know,
from the notes of the person acting as secretary of the zoning board.
what do we do with minutes every month? We review them and approve them. We don't just approve them by the notes.
You accept the minutes, you don't necessarily approve them, but
But most people that approve them look them over before they accept them. There's like a checks and balances system here.
Rail, in the future, I will make sure that you get to see it before it goes out, but I will not withdraw this document.
Okay, I think not only me, I think the rest of the board should be able to see it as well.
I'm not talking you specifically. I should have sent it out. I didn't send it out. For that, I apologize that I didn't send it out. But the fact of the matter is, this is based on what was discussed, the facts provided to me by Karen and my notes from the meeting, okay? I will not withdraw this document.
Okay, I request that you do because it's not on my behalf.
Fine, request denied.
Okay, that's okay.
Anything else?
Can you read it out loud?
I basically just did.
Never mind, this is not the board of Matt. This is the.
No, and it's not the board of rail either.
No, it's not, but who wrote that up and who sent it out, man? Did I?
No, in the future, you're more than welcome to take the minutes and write up the reports and provide them to us so we can review them and provide them to the town board. I don't have an issue with that.
I'm just.
I was doing this to help Karen out, but that's okay. You want to do it in the future? I have no issue.
I don't want to do it. You sat there and you said, I typed this up and I presented it to them. I've never seen it.
Okay, and I have stated that I should have sent it out to you. I apologize for that, and I will not, I won't discuss it anymore. That's the end of it.
How
You
can-
don't like it, too bad.
I know it's, you say I should have done.
Motion to adjourn.
Seconded.
Burgess,
Yes.
Rail,
Abstain.
Annie,
Yes.
Jamie,
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Closed.